As some of you may know, in the early 90s, Nintendo wasn't the only one with their own video game console. Nintendo had the SNES, which sold more than 49 million copies. Other companies would try to outdo the Super Nintendo with their own video game consoles, such as the TurboGrafx-16 or the Neo Geo. However, the SNES had but one true adversary, the Sega Genesis. The Sega Genesis sold almost 40 million systems in its entire lifespan. It had many games that are still considered classics today, such as the Sonic the Hedgehog series and superior home ports of Mortal Kombat. Nintendo and Sega were the two biggest names in video games at the time, and both of them always wanted to be on top, claiming to be better than the other. Sega even had a commercial which said, "Free what Nintendo." In an effort to win the console war, Sega began to release accessories for the Sega Genesis, the Sega CD and the 32X. The 32X allowed better graphics for games. The Sega CD did the same, but also allowed live-action video. But we're not here to talk about console accessories. We're here to talk about one game in specific for the Sega CD. Snatcher. Snatcher was a game originally made for a few Japanese home computers. It was eventually ported to the Sega CD, and later, the Sega Saturn and PlayStation 1. However, the only version to ever hit American shores was the Sega CD version. This is the one we're going to talk about today because, needless to say, I can't read Japanese. The American version of Snatcher sold abysmally, selling only a few thousand copies. However, Snatcher is considered by many, including me, to be the best game on the Sega CD. Now that's not saying much, considering the Sega CD didn't have too many memorable exclusive titles, but I'd say this game still holds up today. It's still a fun play, 16 years from its original release date in 1994. But enough talking, let's boot up the game. We're playing through all 3 acts of Snatcher. When you start the game up, there's a disclaimer saying that everything in this game is fictional and wasn't based on real events. Alright then, so I guess if this all happens in the year 2047, Konami won't get sued. You get this opening which must have been pretty cool for 1994, which basically explains that there was some incident in Moscow which wiped out half the Earth's population, and these Terminator-ish things called Snatchers, which look like regular humans, are running around killing people. I should probably point out at this time that this game was made by Hideo Kojima, the man behind the Metal Gear series, and just like the Metal Gear series, this game comes with a lot of cutscenes. In fact, the ending cutscene is almost a half hour, but I'm getting ahead of myself, let's get back to the game. So basically, you're Gillian Seed, a guy with amnesia who recently enlisted as a junker, which is basically a dude who fights Snatchers. You also have a wife who you are separated from at the time, who is also an amnesiac. After this cold cutscene is over, you go into Junker HQ, and the game finally begins. The main gameplay of Snatcher consists of selecting what to do from a menu of basic commands, such as enter, look, and investigate. But something seems missing from these options. What about talk? That seems kinda necessary, don't you think? Well, in my opinion, this is Snatcher's main flaw. Watch this for a second. There's no way for me to talk to the receptionist, right? Well, if I try to enter the building, she says I can't, and then I can talk to her. That makes no sense! In every other point-and-click game I've ever played, all the commands are available, and the challenge is to figure out what to select. But here, it's backwards. You have to figure out what meaningless object or action to do to make the command appear. I mean, what the hell? Things are not looking good for Snatcher right now. I'm only at the first part of gameplay, and I've already found something that pisses me off. And believe me, we're gonna have to go through that crap the entire game. Don't get me wrong, I love this game. And after a while, you do get used to having to investigate everything. And it does sort of give you the feeling of a detective, and believe me, the story, voice acting, and soundtrack make up for it. But after all that annoying crap, we talk to the receptionist and get this cutscene.
I'm Gillian Seed. I've been assigned to Junker headquarters effective today.
Oh, you're Mr. Seed. Please forgive me. My name is Mika Slayton. I'm the administrative assistant and operator here at Junker headquarters. Very pleased to meet you.
The voice acting actually isn't too bad. And as you'll be seeing throughout the entire game, there isn't just voice acting in the cutscenes. You get voice acting for just about every important part of the game, and some of the less important ones. That's pretty awesome. So anyway, one thing that's always bothered me is that Snatcher is always capitalized. It sounds like they're screaming it. I know it seems a bit much, but it's supposed to protect from Snatchers! What? Snatchers! Even attacked up here. So you talk to her, flirt with her, and yes, you can flirt with just about any woman in this game. It's like all the Hideo Kojima games. Then she lets you go into HQ after the...
Okay,
wait a minute.
Gillian.
She looks completely different! I mean, why would you do that? It's just stupid! Whoa. Alright, I'm spending too much time on pointless subjects. Gotta move on with the game. Mika, the receptionist, takes you on a tour of Junker HQ, which for such a big building only has 5 rooms. So the chief's room has the chief in it, obviously. Let me tell you, this chief has the most epic voice I've ever heard. Just listen for a second.
Thanks for coming, Seed. I'm Benson Cunningham, the Chief of Junker Operations.
If you look around the room, nothing too interesting happens. He tells you about what a junker's job is, and about his new couch, which looks like a bunch of bananas glued together, and after that he gives you your junker ID and some money. Oh, and you never run out of money in this game, so you don't have to worry about that. The engineering room and detectives room are kind of pointless at the time because no one's in them. But the computer room is interesting because it has Jordan. Jordan is a computer which will basically tell you about the characters in the game. It kind of reminds me of the computer from Police Quest, except without the ability to search expletives. You can only search with last names though. I tried searching for George Washington and Jesus, but people like that don't seem to work. But out of boredom, I tried searching for Hideo Kojima, the creator of the game, and what do you know? There he is. Afterwards you go to the shooting range, where you learn about the combat of Snatcher. I thought this was just a tutorial, but actually, this game had something that was revolutionary for the time. Depending on how well you do in the training and various other battles, the difficulty adjusts itself to your level. So, believe it or not, this game was doing what Left 4 Dead did 14 years ahead of time. But now the engineering dude came back and is ready to give me my blaster. Alright, let's go visit this dude and get our gun.
Great to meet you. You're Gillian Seed, right? Haven't we met somewhere before?
How the hell is he standing like that? That doesn't even seem physically possible. You'd have to be Michael Jackson to lean like that. He shows you a picture of him as a kid, and yes, we're all thinking the same thing. Why does he look like a Beatle? And I think I have the answer. It's 2047, right? So all the Beatles have to be dead by now, which makes this guy Harry, the son of Ringo Starr, which makes him the... I have no idea. But after a while, something awesome happens. We find out we're getting our own robot helper dude. This is gonna be awesome.
I know. All right, allow me to introduce the Navigator, which I designed especially for you. Hey, Metal Gear!
Whoa, wait a minute. Metal Gear? Hideo Kojima just referenced his Metal Gear series by making a personal robot in the game, Metal Gear?
Introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. Pleased to meet you, Gillian. I am Metal Gear Mach 2.
Why can't I have nice things? Some of you might be thinking that Metal Gear Mark II looks kind of familiar. Well, Metal Gear Mark II was actually recycled from Metal Gear Solid 4, with a bit of an updated model. After that disappointment, we get our gun and a call on Metal's video phone. Turns out the other junker dude, Gene or whatever his name is, needs help in catching a Snatcher. So we get in this turbo-cycle flying car thing, and off we go.
Now departing for the abandoned factory.
Alright, let's go fight some Snatchers. Right? Oh no, not this crap again. Why isn't there an enter option? Do we have to look at 50 things again? I can somewhat understand that we have to look at the building, but why the sky? At one point, Metal even says we'll need to get closer to the building to investigate, but the enter option still doesn't appear. What the hell? I mean, look, I'm investigating all these things, and nothing's happening. What the hell was that? So now we can go inside. We find that John's Navigator robot has been destroyed, and Metal takes his memory chip for evidence. We move further into the factory, and at this point I realized something. People kept on saying that these games for the Sega CD, such as Night Trap and Snatcher, were too violent and scary for kids. Now, Night Trap I can understand because it's about people coming to your house and killing you. This game really isn't that violent. Damn. That is violent. Actually, in the Sega Saturn and PS1 version of the game, they censored Gene so that his head wasn't lying there. So I guess the Snatcher took the head with it to mount on its wall or something. I don't know. After investigating Gene's body, we find a few things. A key, which is odd because apparently in 2047 people don't use keys anymore. Oh, and in Gene's hand we find some hair, and under his nails is some skin. So I guess Gene put up a fight.
Now analyzing recovered hair sample. Analysis complete. Results on the display. 1. Chromosomal analysis of cells from the papilla and root reveal 46XY. Subject is male. 2. Hair color, brown. Hair structure reading of 65 indicates European subject, wavy hair. 3. Attachment of root structure and thickness of the base of the strand suggest hair
after all that, we find that the person Jean was fighting with was male. Now for the skin.
Now analyzing recovered tissue sample.
Oh crap, not